All right, everyone, welcome to Strictly Sports. I'm Jacob Brown, joined here with CJ Uri. We're going to do our NFL 2020 mock draft preview for the NFL draft that is tomorrow night. This is going to be a jam-packed show. We're going to go over our top 5 picks. Actually, the whole first round, we're going to talk about potential trades in and out of the top 10, potential picks outside of the top 10. We're just going to load it up here. It's going to be a really fun pod. Joined here with CJ, as always. How you doing, CJ, through all this quarantine?
Um, I mean, I've been dreading the draft. During quarantine. The only thing I've really been reading up on is the draft. I've just been looking forward to it, but I'm dreading it being over because after that, what sports do we have? To look forward to. So, but in terms of quarantine, just been at my house, finishing up this semester of schoolwork and reading up on draft stuff. How about you?
Yeah, I mean we've just been making these pods, just trying to find some routine during the day just to like keep it going. There's just nothing to do. And yeah, I've been all over. We've been doing these baseball pods. I've been doing those. I've been checking out NFL stuff. And you're right, though. I mean, when the draft's over, we're going to be tortured for a little bit with just no upcoming sports stuff. What do you think, though? I mean, we've had some rumors with NHL thinking about a 3-host city. Obviously you're a big hockey guy. What do you think about that? They're thinking about finishing up the regular season with 3 host cities.
I'm fine with it. As long as they're having a clear plan with the 3 host cities, and what I mean by that would be one out west, one on the East Coast, and then one towards the South.
Yep.
And the fans can travel. Really, I mean, the second that this thing lifts, I mean, people are going to be buying plane tickets to places that they've always wanted to go, regardless of this pandemic. Plane tickets are really low, so I like the idea of 3 host cities. We'll see where it goes. I'm not gonna have any hope or faith in any of this. I'm kind of preparing for no continuation of all the sports leagues that had to stop, just so that if they come back, it is a nice surprise and present for me.
Yeah, so let's get into it, man. We're here for the NFL draft. This is the day we've all been waiting for. Just to say from the start, I'm a Giants fan. CJ's a Finns fan. We're not going to let that, interfere with what we're saying here. Everything we say is honest, regardless of who we like as teams. These are our predictions. It's not biased, and that's where we're going here. So let's start this. So number one, I think we could just brush over this one, even though it's the number one pick and you want to talk about it a lot. Burrow's going to the Bengals. I think undeniably, just probably the best QB talent here. Although you could argue Tua is the best pure prospect in the draft. I guess I could ask you, what are your opinions on Joe Burrow? Do you think he can thrive in that Cincinnati offense?
So, this is a great fit for the Bengals. Really, Joe Burrow is a good fit for any team that needs a quarterback or is shaky at the quarterback position. Joe Burrow, he probably just had the best season of any college football quarterback in the history of NCAA, and rightfully so. 52 touchdowns, played about 7 top 10 teams. He's very deserving of the number 1 overall pick. I don't really agree with analysts like Colin Cowherd and others who say he's a B+ prospect. I don't think that whatsoever. At the very least, he's an A- prospect. But in my opinion, I mean, Joe Burrow is so solid, and he plays with a chip on his shoulder. He's got that winning mentality. He's got that Kobe, Michael Jordan, LeBron sense of like, I go out there because I want to win. That Tom Brady. He said multiple times, Joe Burrow's now said, I just want to go somewhere where I'm going to win. So, whether he brings that winning mentality to Cincinnati is it shouldn't really be a question. I see him going there, bringing a winning mentality, but are they going to win? I don't think so. I don't really like that organization to perennially win. They've been pretty good the last decade about getting to the playoffs. They don't really go any further. We'll see what Joe Burrow can do. But it's a great pick for him. He grew up in Ohio, and it's a great pick for the Bengals. They get to solve their quarterback position. And we'll see where Andy Dalton goes.
Yeah, and their offense is not as bad as you would think. I mean, they've got Joe Mixon at running back, probably at least top 12 running back. I mean, I haven't done rankings in a while, but he's probably top 12, top 10 in running back production. You have A.J. Green that might be coming back from injury if he can be what he used to be. You have Tyler Boyd, you have Joe Ross. They've got actual talent on that offensive side. What they don't have O-line. They don't have very much else. So Burrow completes that QB need. That's what you need from the start. But other than that, they need to work on it in terms of O-line defense. But quick sidetrack here. Gronk went to the Bucks yesterday. What are your thoughts about that?
All right, so Gronk going to the Bucks. I mean, awesome. For the Bucks, at least Gronk on his day when he's healthy, best tight end in the league. I think when he comes back, even if he's healthy, I want to see how they're going to use him out the gate. I think they're going to preserve him through the first 5 to 6 games, and then when they get through that tough stretch, you're going to really see Gronk come alive in those games. But hey, Tom Brady gets his favorite receiver back. He now gets to throw to Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Rob Gronkowski. This might be the most potent offense Tom Brady's ever really been in. And plus, it looks like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to add a running back within the first 2 rounds of the draft. So we'll see what happens. But hey, look, the Bucs are getting something good in Gronk, so good for them.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team like they've got 2 or 3 receivers. Now they have 3 tight ends. They will draft a running back, like you said. They'll probably draft left tackle because they need that. Even though their O-line was top 10 last year, people don't know that. The Bucs O-line last year was top 10 in the league. Very impressive. And they were 7-9, so they're not far off. You know, a game or two here and there. They're a 9-7 team, 10-6. So we'll see with the Bucs. And then they definitely need a secondary. That's something they've needed for 6 or 7 years now. They have not had a secondary in a number of years. So back to the NFL mock draft now. We go to that number 2 overall pick in the Washington Redskins. It's Chase Young. We all know that. Really lucky, honestly, for the Redskins to be in this position. If the Giants had not beat them, then the Giants probably would have been in this position. I've been all over this. Why did the Giants not lose more games? That's for another conversation. But Chase Young's going to the Skins. He's going to revamp this defense. He's a guy that can control this defense, anchor this defense, whatever you want to call it. He's the dude. He can sack people. He's versatile. He can do all it takes to block guys on that defense. What are your thoughts on Chase Young?
I think Chase Young has the potential to have a all-time career for the Washington Redskins if he stays there. I think Ron Rivera as their head coach there is really huge for them. The reason being is he brings a winning mentality. I think the Washington Redskins have just been so poorly ran over the last 2 decades. They really haven't had anything going for them. And I think that when Ron Rivera comes to town, he's looking at those guys in the locker room. He's saying, I'm not accepting anything less than winning mentality. So I like what they're doing. They've got good trenches as it is. I don't mind their O-line and I don't mind their D-line. And then they're going to go add Chase Young, who very well could have a very, very, very lengthy career and good career at that. The guy's a freak athlete. This is a great pick, and they're going to get a guy that I think is going to make such a good impact. I think he's going to be in double-digit sacks in his first year in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, but you do look at that O-line, though. Do you think they're going to look to trade Trent Williams?
I saw somewhere that a deal is getting done for Trent Williams. It should be done within the next 48 hours. Whether that is with the Redskins or being traded, I don't know. But Trent Williams is so good that he will command a good draft, a very high draft pick, whether it's really high second round or mid to low first round. That's what Trent Williams is going to command. But if they're going to keep him, I mean, they're still keeping an amazing left tackle and definitely top 5 at the position.
So we move on to the 3 pick in the Detroit Lions, and this is where you get to the territory of maybe the Lions aren't going to be the number 3 pick because they're looking for trade partners. If they do pick, I think they'll go corner Jeff Okudah from Ohio State. They needed corner. They lost Darius Slay. They cannot rely on Desmond Trufant to be that replacement. They need a guy like Jeff Okudah to step in. But CJ, do you think the Detroit Lions will trade out of that 3?
So It's a good question. So I have a theory about this. I think the Dolphins have done a really good job of putting out whatever smoke screens possible.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason they're doing this is because they want to be able to sit at 5 and not give up any assets. They don't want to trade away the 18th pick. They don't want to trade away the 26th pick. Why? Because the Dolphins want to use those picks to move back into the top 10 or the top 12 to draft the best possible offensive lineman there, and then still be able to get a running back late round. Anyway, I think that Darius Slay really screwed over, royally fucked the Detroit Lions big time by forcing his way out of Detroit. Why? Because he now forced the Detroit Lions' hand. They need a cornerback. They don't have any intentions of drafting a quarterback. Matt Stafford was having a great year. He's going to come back next year. He gets to throw to Kenny Galladay,
Yeah, Marvin Jones,
Marvin
Hawkinson.
Jones. I like the running game there. I mean, seriously, they just need a defense, and I think their first 2 picks in this draft, wherever they are, need to be cornerback, linebacker, or cornerback D tackle, something like that. They are a couple pieces away from being a 10-win team. I like Stafford and I like the Lions, but Darius Slay completely forced their hand because if you recall, before Darius Slay said, "I want to get the hell out of Detroit," was tweeting about it, whatever, there were smoke screens out there that the Lions were going to take Tua, that the Lions were looking at Tua, and now the fact that Darius Slay left, their whole smokescreen, their whole system is gone. They need Jeff Okudah. That was their intentions this entire time. I feel like there won't be a trade anymore. I think the Lions are going to stay at the 3rd spot, and I think they're going to take Jeff Okudah. There have been whispers of Isaiah Simmons, which once again, fantastic defensive prospect. He's a top 3, top 4 defensive prospect in this draft, but it's going to be Jeff Okudah. Jeff Okudah gives you an immediate shutdown corner, and he's a playoff caliber guy. He will be in Detroit for a long time.
Now, if they do trade out, though, do you think it would be with the Dolphins, or do you think it would be the Chargers or someone else?
I'm getting I'm going to put my bias aside here and say and not say what I want to happen. I think that the team that is most likely to move up is the Chargers. Why? Because the Dolphins really want to stay at 5. The Dolphins do not want to trade any of their assets. They want to come away with 2 to 3 starters from round 1. And I think the team that would trade with the Lions is the Chargers. And now there's a lot of reports coming out that the Lions are not getting what they want from these trade negotiations. So it's making it seem like, you know what, I think the Lions are just going to stay at 3, take Jeff Okudah, walk away with a starting cornerback that can very well be in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, I agree with you. So you look at this 4 pick, and this is another pick. Will it get traded? Will it not? Right now, it's projected probably by most people that Isaiah Simmons will be taken by the Giants. I'm fine with that. I've said multiple times. He's a tremendous player, tremendous defensive value. My stance on it, though, and I think I could still stick with this, the Giants need to protect their assets at O-line. Daniel Jones and Saquon got injured last year. I think that they need to be protected and maybe go with a Wirfs or somebody else. But I just it's interesting with the Giants. They can go either way. Another team that maybe they trade with the Chargers or someone else so that they can leapfrog the Dolphins for Tua potentially. But what are your opinions with the Giants? Do you think they A, stay at 4 and pick Simmons, B, they trade back, get multiple picks, gain players that way? What do the Giants do?
It's a good question. So if you asked me a week ago, I would have said the Giants are going to stay at 4, take Isaiah Simmons, get that difference maker. I think Isaiah Simmons will be so good in the NFL, and I think he'd be great on the Giants. I think he'd sell jerseys. I think he'd be all over on the defense. He'd be that guy on Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, where these analysts are just talking about him pregame. He's flying around the field, making tackles, making plays, getting the defense off the field. But there's been some poison in the water here with regards to Isaiah Simmons being a top 5 pick. There are a lot of people who think he might even fall out of the top 10 and be the 11th pick, which I'm not really buying. But here's the thing. I wouldn't rule out the Giants taking the best O-lineman on the board because I know that they're dialed in on Daniel Jones, and why wouldn't they be? I think Daniel Jones has the makings of a good quarterback in the NFL, so I wouldn't blame them getting an O-lineman. And I also would never in a million years rule out the fact that Derek Brown might be the 4th overall pick here. Derek Brown can play anywhere on the D-line. And if you look at his physicality, his frame, just his body, the fact that he can play anywhere on the D-line is insane because he looks just like a straight-up D tackle, going to get after the quarterback from the middle, plug the run, but he's so fast and agile, even with his weight and his height, that on the outside he can play on the D-end. So I can see either pick, but as of right now, if you ask me, I'd probably say Isaiah Simmons.
All right, so we now move on to this 5 pick, and this is where the Dolphins come in. I think they will draft Tua Tagovailoa. If he's there, there's no way that they're not drafting him. I don't buy this bullshit that they like Jordan Love more, or I just don't buy it. Tua's the dude. You cannot pass him up. Worst case scenario, it fails. You tank again, and you get the next quarterback. So I think there would be more pushback if you don't draft Tua. He goes somewhere else and he succeeds. I think Dolphin fans would riot the streets. But yeah, I have Tua going to the Dolphins. There's a potential. Maybe they actually do draft O-line, go Andrew Thomas or something like that. I don't think they do. I think they will stick and go with Tua at 5 if he's there. But, maybe if the Chargers are to trade up, draft Tua ahead of them, then I would say they will draft Jordan Love ahead of Justin Herbert because to me, if Dan Marino, and if this is true, by the way, we know there's smoke screens galore going on. If it is true that Marino likes Jordan Love over Justin Herbert, I would actually take Jordan Love and take the risk there at 5. But I don't know. I just don't see them not going QB at 5. That's one glaring need for them. They've got to go there. They have Fitzpatrick to kind of teach these guys and be their mentor. It's the perfect situation. What do you think the Dolphins do at 5?
It's a great question. I have them. I think that they're going to draft Tua, but there's two plans here that I think that the front office is looking at. I don't really think they're going to trade up. So if Tua is gone, their contingency plan is to take the best O-line or the best prospect on defense off the board at 5. And with that 18th pick, they're going to try – it's Jordan Love after that. I don't know where they'd get him, but it's Tua or Jordan Love. It's Tua at 5, or if they can't get Tua at 5, it's going to be Jordan Love, which in a way I'm not angry about. Watching Jordan Love, if you look at – for anyone listening, if they would if you want to look at some Jordan Love highlights, just type in Jordan Love versus Michigan State. He took Utah State into Michigan State. Utah State, obviously, inferior program. Michigan State was top 11, top 12 team at the time, one of the two. And
great defense too.
Yeah, and they it's a really hectic atmosphere. And Jordan Love took Utah State into Michigan and brought them all the way to the fourth quarter. Their comeback, or they fell a little short there, but they were leading through the half really, and it really showed you, okay, Jordan Love is a baller, he's a gamer, and he's got that elite level mentality of I want to go out there and I want to win. So I don't mind either of the two, but if you're not taking Tua in this draft, you didn't tank for Jordan Love. You didn't blow up everything for Jordan Love. So I think it's Tua here at 5, but the contingency plan is Jordan Love if they can't get Tua.
Yeah, we've been on that this whole time. Like, we've been pretty even on that. Like, you don't tank to get something that's worse than the best, right? I mean, Tua is the best option. You don't lose like that to not get him. And it just makes you wonder, again, why are you winning those games late in the year? They end up screwing you in the end of the day. If the Dolphins had been at the 3, they would have had absolutely nothing to worry about right now, but they just had to win those extra games. So that ended up ultimately screwing them possibly at the end of the day. But now we move on to this 6th pick, the LA Chargers. Right now, I think they will go for Herbert. I think they like him. I don't buy this about Tyrod Taylor being their QB this year. They want Herbert. They need to sell tickets. I think he wouldn't be as big of a draw as Tua, obviously. That's why I think they might actually jump the Dolphins to that 3 or 4 pick. But I do think Herbert goes to the Chargers. What about you?
Well, the thing is Tua won't even be playing through the first 5 weeks of the season, really. But, I feel really bad for Justin Herbert. Last year, he would have been a top 5 pick. He had a really good season the year before. He had a good season this year. It's just he just wasn't there with the accuracy. But the thing is the guy's 6'6". He can run. He's really never been injured, and he's got a cannon arm. The Chargers have a really good team. Their roster is loaded. So I think that Justin Herbert is the pick here at 6 because I agree. I don't think that they're sold on Tyrod Taylor being the starter for the season. Now, Tyrod Taylor is definitely going to be the starter week 1. He's going to be starter week 2. And the thing is that Chargers defense is good enough for Tyrod Taylor to work with. So Tyrod Taylor is probably going to, I'd say through 5 games, that team's going to be 3-2, 4-1. So there's going to be no point to start Justin Herbert. So I think Justin Herbert's going to get a Patrick Mahomes treatment here and be able to learn for a full year behind a team that's really competitive and then take the reins the following year. And if you're a Chargers fan, you can't help but like that. I mean, Justin Herbert has all the makings and tools and physical traits of a good quarterback, of a solid quarterback. So I don't see the problem here. The guy was a 4-year player at Oregon, 3-year starter, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 4-year, and got his degree. He's a very smart kid. And, maybe Tyrod Taylor teaches him how to speak up in the locker room and be a leader. So we'll see. But, yeah, I think the pick here is Justin Herbert.
Now, I mean, there's also this possibility that's been thrown out there, and if it happens, it'd be pretty Patriots of them to do. Will the Patriots trade up to get one of these QBs? Do you think they will say, you know what, let's just fire it in. We'll go get Tua. We'll go get someone, and retool this QB position right now.
Okay, so the Patriots, they've never been a team that's going to trade up, ever. They always trade down, acquire more picks. But I think Bill Belichick's on a mission, and there's my stepdad who's downstairs right now is a big Patriots fan, and I've asked him. I said, "What do you think they're going to do?" And he said, "No, there's no way. Bill, he never trades up, and if anything, he's going to trade down, acquire more picks." I said, "You know what? I think he's on a mission, and I think he wants to get his quarterback now, mold him, and go on a run here, which as a Dolphins fan scares me." So if they're going to trade up, I think it's Justin Herbert or Jordan Love. I don't buy this whole Patriots. They like Tua. Oh, the Patriots. We want Tua. We're going to go get him. I don't believe that. I think that genuinely Bill Belichick looks at Justin Herbert and salivates. He's like, that kid, I could make him legit.
Yes.
And I think he says the same thing about Jordan Love. So we'll see. But, it's the Patriots. I'm not going to even speculate what they're going to do because God only knows. Bill Belichick is already 15 steps ahead of me, so who knows?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no guessing what New England's going to do. And now we move on here, and this is where it gets really fun because you could really go anywhere you want, 7 through 32 for this first round. Currently, some mock drafts I'm looking at, most people have Derek Brown probably going to Carolina at that number 7 pick. They need to revamp their whole roster. They need a little bit of everything. Obviously, McCaffrey getting paid the most a running back's ever been paid. They don't have a quarterback right now. We do know Carolina and Jacksonville, they're probably in a situation where they're going to tank and be like, we'll go for Trevor and Justin Fields next year. So I don't think they're very concerned with quarterback right now. So I do think Carolina will go defense, get a Derek Brown. I don't think they go O-line. I think that's something you get when you're closer to winning. And so I do see them get Derek Brown this year. What about you?
It's a good question. Carolina at 7 is a little. They're like a mystery at the moment.
No, they could trade down as well. Sorry to interrupt, but they could trade down.
Yeah, they could trade down. But I do believe here that Derek Brown is the pick. I don't think Derek Brown falls past 7. Derek Brown is too good. If teams were going to pick the best players available, it would have been Chase Young, Jeff Okudah, Derek Brown, then Isaiah Simmons. That's what it would have been. Obviously, quarterbacks are way more valuable, and there's a valuable thing, and what players are valuable really depicts who's going to get picked where. But I think Derek Brown is the Carolina Panther pick here, and he is so legit. And that defense is already pretty good. I don't know what the Carolina Panthers are going to really do this year in terms of record, but I think Derek Brown is good enough on that D-line to shore up in that fourth quarter when teams are trying to run the ball, run out the clock. He's going to get the offense back on the field. Derek Brown is really, really talented.
I agree. I really do. I think Brown will go 7 to Carolina. Now you look at Arizona at 8. I think they're going to go O-line here. Their defense is good enough, in my opinion. I think it's good enough for this year. I don't think they realistically think that they can make the playoffs, although they can make a run. I think they do have a very good team. I think they go O-line here. I think they go Tristan Wirfs or Jedrick Willis, one of the two. They just need a left tackle. They need someone to protect Kyler Murray. Kyler is a tinier guy. He could get really messed up if he gets hit too hard. There's sometimes when he's out there, and that's the only complaint I have about Kyler. Sometimes he's out there, and I'm like, he looks like a little kid out there with some of these NFL players. So he needs an offensive line to protect him. So I do have O-line going to Arizona. Again, another team that could trade down. I don't think they will. What are your thoughts on Arizona?
I think it's either Tristan Wirfs here or Javon Kinlaw. So, there's been a lot of reports out there that say that, people are going to be surprised. There's going to be players picked in spots where, mocks had never even had them. I think Javon Kinlaw is one of those guys. I'm not really sold on Arizona's defense, and they really stunted their growth in trying to do the Josh Rosen experiment, and then the next year take Kyler Murray. They finally found their quarterback. Kyler Murray's legit. He's good. He's a gamer. They're set at quarterback. So it's either do I protect Kyler Murray here, who scrambles a lot as it is and uses his feet, or am I going to shore up that D line and get a difference maker? So for anyone listening that's a Cardinals fan or doing mock drafts, take a look at Javon Kinlaw at 8 because he's the next best D tackle on the board and he's legit. But for the sake of being accurate here on the podcast, I'm going to go Tristan Wirfs as the first O lineman off the board, and Andrew Thomas and Jedrick Willis will be very close to follow.
So do you think Willis will go 9 to Jacksonville, or does Jacksonville try to rebuild that defense after trading away Calais Campbell, Jalen Ramsey, AJ Bouye, and others?
See, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are in tank mode, obviously, for this upcoming year. So what I have right now is the Jags trading out of 9. I think they're going to trade with the Atlanta Falcons. I think the Falcons trade up to 9, and I think the Falcons draft whichever cornerback they want, either Christian Fulton or C.J. Henderson. And if we're doing the 9th pick right now, I'm going to say C.J. Henderson at 9 to the Atlanta Falcons, who have traded up. All right, so to round out the top 10, we have the Cleveland Browns here, and as I was saying, I believe that the Browns, this is going to show if they are finally out of their childhood phase as a front office and an organization. I think the clear pick here needs to just be an O lineman, make sure Baker has as much time back there as possible, and move forward. There aren't really any skill position players that they need to draft unless Odell Beckham is traded within the next 24 hours, which I don't think is going to happen. But we will see. And then at that point, if they don't have Odell Beckham Jr. anymore, then you never know. They could try to take Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb, which are fantastic prospects, but are just not the picks that they should have. So that's the top 10. And now let's get into some other conversation, because we're just going to be throwing darts at a board with the rest of these picks.
Yeah, I mean, we've just brought in JP Acosta here, and I mean, I'll let you talk about your Jags for a second here. I mean, you're kind of in agreement here with CJ. If there's no players that they want there at 9, you think they might trade out?
Yeah, I think they might trade out if there are a few players that aren't there. So they're going to be looking for Jeffrey Okudah, Isaiah Simmons, or Derek Brown. Derek Brown, Jeffrey Okudah are both the elite players at their position, and they're at positions of need. Isaiah Simmons is a top 5 player in this draft. He doesn't fit a need for the Jaguars, but Dave Caldwell's never drafted for need. He picked Josh Allen last year. That wasn't a need. So if none of them are there, I think they trade back. But if Simmons or Brown are there, I think they choose one of them.
Yeah, so, I mean, we were just talking about it before, guys. So there's rumors right now, and this is something we'll add as well. Whenever this podcast gets posted, I guarantee you there's rumors that refute these rumors that we're talking about right now. That's how crazy the day before the draft usually is. Right now, though, we're hearing Eagles might trade up, Falcons might trade up. What are your guys' thoughts on that? We'll start with CJ.
I got the Falcons trading up in this draft. I think they're going to get a little aggressive. Ever since that Super Bowl loss and how ridiculously deflating it was, I think that this team is actually finally ready to get back on the horse here. And I honestly think that the Falcons are going to be good next year, but I think it starts with a good selection in round 1. And that selection needs to be a defensive back. And I think it's Christian Fulton or it is C.J. Henderson wherever they trade up. Now, if they trade all the way up to 3, then it's obviously Jeff Okudah, but I don't know how they're going to get all the way up to 3. So we'll see. But Matt Patricia comes from the Bill Belichick tree of coaching, and what do they do? They trade down. They acquire more picks. So we'll see what happens.
Now, I'm actually along the same lines with the Falcons. I think they do trade up. I think it's more likely that they trade with those teams from 7 to 10. So that's Carolina, Arizona, Jacksonville, Cleveland. I've heard Cleveland wants to trade back. They'll still get an offensive tackle later, but they may want to trade back, get some more picks. Jacksonville, like I was telling Jacob earlier, Dave Caldwell, Thomas Dimitroff have both worked under the same staff. They both know each other very well. Carolina is obviously looking to rebuild. I've heard Carolina is also enamored with Javon Kinlaw, defensive lineman from South Carolina. Picking him at 7 may be a reach, especially when Derek Brown is there. So they may want to trade back to a more appropriate range. And then Arizona is kind of the wild card. Arizona, they need an offensive tackle, but they also need defensive talent. So they could just draft the best offensive lineman there or the best defensive player there, or they could trade back and see if they can get like a Justin Jefferson, a wide receiver at LSU maybe later, or maybe a cornerback. But I think if the Falcons are going to trade up, I don't think it's going to be within the top 5 like they've said. I think it's going to be that 7 to 10 teams.
Yeah, I mean, what about this 11 team, though, guys? No one's really talking about the New York Jets. Right now, they're probably projected to get one of those big receivers, the Jerry Jeudy type, but they really do. They do need other things other than wide receiver. Do you think they might trade up?
I don't think they trade up because I think they'll pick best player available. If it's one of the 4 top offensive tackles that are there, if they pick one of the best receivers there, but honestly, they have to choose between an offensive tackle or a wide receiver to get Sam Darnold some help because there's nobody on that offensive line. There's nobody in that receiver room, and this is the best class for a wide receiver or offensive tackle in the first round. So I don't think they trade up or trade back unless they get an offer for more picks that can't refuse.
Yeah, I think if Willis is sitting there for them at 11, I think they should go Willis. Because I get it, Jerry Jeudy's a real amazing talent, but you can maybe get someone else later. I would really focus on offensive line for them because you need to protect your asset. That's Sam Darnold, and like you said, JP, he's got no weapons, so it's going to be really tough for him. I think you need to give him some protection. What about you, CJ?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think we're going to see a run on offensive linemen. They're going to come in streaks almost. I think Andrew Thomas, Jedrick Willis, Tristan Wirfs, all 3 of those guys are going to be within the top 12 picks. And I can even see a Mekhi Becton sneaking in there. So we'll see. But I agree. There's got to be some layer of protection there. And, got to do it when you can.
And the thing is about this tackle class is after that top 4, there's a drop. There's a clear-cut top 4, and then Josh Jones is somewhere way down here. He's way below Andrew Thomas, Jedrick Wills, Tristan Wirfs, Mekhi Becton. And honestly, I've heard a lot that there is no consensus number 1 tackle. I've seen mocks where Jedrick Wills goes number 4 to New York, and then Tristan Wirfs goes 14 to Buffalo, or not Buffalo, Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay, yeah.
I've seen Andrew Thomas and Mekhi Becton at 4. I've seen them at 11. There's a range for these guys, but there's no consensus number 1. And that means this class is very good at the top 4. But once you get outside that top 4, you're reaching.
Yeah, so these teams really they need to be smart about it. They need to make sure, you know what? If we want O-line, we got to get one of these 4. You got to strike early, and if you're not even in those opportunities, they probably have to find those opportunities at this time because 4 guys, that's it. So you look at the rest of this draft here, Tampa Bay, I mean, this is a team that's in conversations now. Right now, they're probably going to draft left tackle, go with Mekhi Becton. That's who I think they'll go with. I think he'll be the one available there. But again, JP, like you said, I mean, there could be another left tackle that's there that's available that, slipped down in the draft a little. I think either way, Tampa's got to go O-line too. But one thing about Tampa that no one ever mentions, they have not had a secondary for 7 years. Are they going to get a corner instead?
I don't think they go corner in the first round, but I think an interesting name there for Tampa at 14, if there are no offensive tackles available outside that top 4, is Javon Kinlaw. They've really been needing help along that interior defensive line. Although they brought back Ndamukong Suh, he's on a 1-year deal. They brought back Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett. The edges are complete. They have one of the best, I'm not saying one of the best 1-2 punches, but a very competent 1-2 punch on the outside. They need to fix that interior defense. I think they'll address corner in the 2nd or 3rd rounds because this cornerback class is actually very good. Now, if they don't pick tackle or don't pick Javon Kinlaw, they're a very good option to trade back. Because I think Josh Jones in that later area where Philly starts at 21, I think Josh Jones is a great fit at that pick range.
Yeah, I could even see Josh Jones getting in that fringe low teens, 12-ish range, just because teams are going to be like, I need an O-lineman. I'm going to get one. I don't really care. There's it's crazy because there's so many teams that feel like they're complete or close to complete at that point in the trenches. So that's why I feel like Javon Kinlaw is going to be way higher than I originally thought. So it's really tough, but I don't know. I think the biggest storylines for tomorrow in terms of past the top 10, top 12 picks is going to be what are the Patriots going to do at quarterback, and where are the Falcons going to trade up, and what teams are going to trade down, and then what are the Dolphins going to do with that 26th and 18th pick as a package? Yes. We don't even know.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the other thing I wanted to bring up was, where are Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, and CeeDee Lamb going to go? Because people are going to have their eyes on them, because all three of those guys are top 5, top 6 round picks in fantasy football.
Now, in some of my mocks that I've done, I've been up since like 11 o'clock last night trying to find perfect options for this mock draft that we're doing. I've had CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs go, I believe it was 11, 12, 13, or one of them could go as high as 8 to Arizona, and the lowest could be 21 to Philly. There's a huge range for these guys, but I'm not sure who's going to go first. That's the thing.
So I'm going to say right now, Eagles, Broncos, Raiders.
Yeah,
all three of those teams are going to cash in on one of these three guys. I don't know who's going to go where, but that's where I'm going to probably have them in my mock. Don't share that with anyone else.
Actually, if we're going to share what we got, I think I had them going. I had Raiders, Niners, Broncos.
Niners, very interesting.
Which one? Because the Niners lost Emmanuel Sanders in free agency. He went to New Orleans.
Yep.
Imagine a guy like Jerry Jeudy or Henry Ruggs in a Kyle Shanahan offense.
They have to trade up a lot, though. I have like a Justin Jefferson or a T. Higgins going to 49ers so they can stay in that bracket of picks. I don't think that they're going to have enough to be able to move all the way up like that.
Well, I think they did because they traded DeForest Buckner to the Colts for the Colts' 13th pick. So they're right in that range with the Jets, the Raiders, and then the Broncos. They're in that mid-teens area. They could easily pick one of those receivers if C.J. Henderson isn't there. So that's been one of the more interesting storylines because, like I said, after the 49ers pick twice in the first round, they don't have another pick until round 5. So they could be prime candidates to trade back, get some more picks, or they could draft the best player available at both of those spots.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think really, though, I mean, Denver, if they get that receiver, that's really Drew Lock with a receiver, and now with Melvin Gordon, and with that offensive line, getting the guy from Detroit, they have obviously they've always had a great defense. Denver is sitting there. They are an incredibly sneaky team. Look for them to slip in the playoffs with that extra wild card spot. I really think they're a playoff team.
Well, I'm a Drew Lock believer, but we will see. I do really like John Elway, though. He's aggressive, so he's going to figure something out.
Elway is aggressive, and I do like Courtland Sutton. That's one of their receivers that they have. He's coming into his own as a receiver. So I think adding a speed guy to go along with the more physical, big body Sutton, like a Henry Ruggs, would really unlock that offense and have somebody to Drew Lock to throw down the field to.
What about Justin Jefferson, guys, wide receiver from LSU?
I have him really late round 1 or early round 2.
Selfishly, I have him 20 to Jacksonville.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, see, I want to get back into this because this is like I really am interested to see what the Dolphins do with all of their picks. What do you think? And we'll start with CJ here because he knows the most, obviously. But do you think they go running back first round and try and snag a DeAndre Swift or a J.K. Dobbins? I know there's some people, don't go running back first round. I'm of the mindset. I think they're really important. I don't think they're the most important position, obviously, but I think they definitely complete your offense. And when you're a team like the Dolphins and your leading rusher is Ryan Fitzpatrick, you need something else. Do you think the Dolphins will get a running back early?
Here's how. Okay, so they're going to go quarterback in the first pick, whoever it may be. Okay. And then they're going to try to take that 18th pick and package it with their second round pick, and they're going to try to move up to a spot where they can get a premier O-lineman. Okay, great. They still have the 26th pick. Now, that 26th pick is either going to be Cesar Ruiz, the center from Michigan, or it's going to be DeAndre Swift. And I'm hoping it's DeAndre Swift because I think DeAndre Swift is legit. He's going to be very good in the NFL, and I think there's only one running back drafted in round 1, and that's DeAndre Swift. And then round 2, you're going to see Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, Clyde Edwards-Helaire maybe in there, and that's how the running backs are going to go. But I think it's going to go quarterback, O-line, in round 1.
So for the Dolphins mocks that I've done, I've obviously had them taking quarterback with that 5th pick. I haven't had them trading up to get an offensive tackle because this is the first time I've heard of them doing that this week. So at 18, I had them picking Xavier McKinney, the safety from Alabama. That's their new Minkah Fitzpatrick. That's the guy who can do it all in that secondary.
Right.
At 26, if the board falls such that an offensive tackle isn't there, I would take a running back because that's the best. That fills the need at their best position, at the biggest position in need. I would think it's DeAndre Swift, but in terms of how the NFL views him, I wouldn't be surprised if Clyde Edwards-Helaire makes it into the back end of the first round because of his pass catching ability.
100%. And, this is a team that, you never usually talk about these first place Super Bowl winning teams and what they're going to do in the draft. But what do you guys see with the Chiefs at 32? Because now if they get a chance to get a running back, oh my God, that offense is crazy. But obviously they need defense too.
You want to hear something wild? I saw a rumor this past week that they were looking to trade up to get Henry Ruggs.
What?
If the NFL allows that, they can just pack it up. The season is over at that point. But I don't think they're going to trade up for Henry Ruggs. I think if they don't draft a running back, I think one of those later corners like Jalen Johnson from Utah, A.J. Terrell, or they could go, if he's still there, which would be surprising to me, Zach Bond, the edge/linebacker from Wisconsin. I think those would be great fits for that defense. But if they trade up for Henry Ruggs, you can just call it. You can just call the season. We won't even need the coronavirus to cancel the season. They already did.
Yeah, I would have them adding to the secondary. I could also see a Winfield or an Xavier McKinney.
See, I think Xavier McKinney goes mid-first round, but I don't have Grant Delpit going first round, which would...
Yeah, or Grant Delpit.
It would shock me considering how high he was coming into the season to see him exit the first round and still not being drafted would be super surprising to me. I know there's been a lot of talk about him not being able to tackle, but in terms of a single high safety, he's one of the best in this draft class.
So what do you guys think about anything else that you guys have? Because we only have limited time here. Are there any other things in this draft that you guys see happening that maybe other people aren't saying right now?
For me, I would say it's going to be the sliding draft stock of AJ Epineza. He's one of Adiel's guys. He went to Iowa. He's an edge rusher. But at the combine, he did not have a very good showing. I know we can take the combine with a grain of salt because really it's the underwear Olympics. But AJ Epineza wins with technique and power. He's more of a 3-4 defensive end than a 4-3 defensive end. He's more of that take up space, eat up blockers, and then kick inside on third downs to rush the passer. I think instead of having him go like I had earlier in the season, I had him going 16 to Atlanta. I think he'll slide back to the later ends of the first round. I can see a team like Seattle picking him up. I can see Tennessee picking him up. Maybe even Minnesota at 25. But Minnesota has some huge needs outside of edge, like wide receiver and corner. So seeing AJ Epeneza's stock slide from the beginning of the season to now is, I think, something that's going to be interesting to watch.
For sure. And this will be our last comment here. I know CJ's got to go. He's got an exam today. Anything that you want to say, last input here?
I think real quick. Hold on. I'm doing my podcast.
Oh, God.
We'll go ahead and edit that out. We'll edit that out.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
You're
All right.
good.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay. My last thing that I'm going to say is watch the Green Bay Packers being really aggressive to try to get a quarterback. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is their guy and is going to be their guy for another 2 years. But I think that they want to get someone in the system that can learn behind Aaron and take it over. The Green Bay Packers are not an organization that is going to tank in a few years. They're not going to let Aaron Rodgers just walk out and not have a replacement. They're going to have someone in line, and I can see them adding to it this year.
All right, guys.
Jordan Love at 30.
Ooh, that's bold. That's a bold one right there.
Jordan Love at 30. Because
okay.
The tackle class won't be as good at that point. I think Kenneth Murray and Patrick Queen will both be gone. The receiver class is good, but I would not be surprised if they pulled the trigger on Jordan Love at 30.
And I'll also say Colts, Raiders, they both need – maybe not Raiders definitely, but definitely the Colts do. They need to draft the successor over there for quarterback. They have a perfect mentor with Phillip Rivers. They need to find someone to sit under him. Even if it's one of the lower guys and you miss out, someone needs to be there behind Phillip Rivers. But that'll do it for this NFL pre-mock draft pod. We're going to do a post-mock draft pod, well, a post-draft pod as well. That'll come out on probably Friday, I'm thinking. And we're going to get some more NBA, NHL pods on the way, the baseball pods. We'll continue here with the 30 for 30s. And JP, we'll be doing this together. We're going to be doing the FAU Athletics pods probably sometime next week as well, because we don't want to abandon our FAU roots here. And actually, JP, CJ, do you have any FAU players being drafted here? Harrison Bryant?
Yeah, Harrison Bryant. I could see Rashad going. Hopefully it's 3 guys, but I think it's just going to be Harrison Bryant, Rashad Davis, within these 7 rounds.
All right.
I think Harrison Bryant is the most realistic. I could see him going late day 2, early day 3. And then James Pierre could actually slide into the back end of day 3 as a round 7 corner. Rashad Smith, maybe. I don't know. But I think the 2 for sures are Harrison Bryant, and I think James Pierre will be drafted late day 3.
All right, guys. So that'll do it. Very quickly, JP, you want to pimp out your pod? CJ, I'll edit this out. If you have to go, you can just hang up. All right, see you, CJ. So, JP, why don't you pimp out your pod, Nonstop Sports?
Yep, we have a podcast, Nonstop Sports FAU's continuation of Nonstop Sports that we had at our radio station at FAU. It's me, Sawyer Stoltz, and Zach Weinberger. We talk about a bunch of cool stuff. We talk sports. We'll talk wrestling. We'll talk what comes to mind. It should be coming out every Wednesday or on Wednesday night, Thursday morning. You can get it on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Breaker. I'm working on Apple Podcasts. Just wherever you find your podcast, we're there. You should go check us out.
Yeah, it'll only be a matter of time before you guys are on Apple Podcasts. It took my show. I don't even know how it happened. Jensen Jennings texted me. He's like, yo, your podcast is on Apple. And I was like, what? So I think it just happens randomly, and it's just a matter of time before you guys are on there. And it's really great that both of our pods are really booming, and we're getting on these services. It's been a really great time.
Yeah, it's definitely been a great time. We're definitely going to have to get together for a big FAU Athletics merge pod one day. I'll definitely have to talk to Sawyer about that.
Yeah, possible. Hey, maybe some group chat people, too. We'll get some Jensen, John in there, get the whole thing going.
Do we want to bring the group chat to the – I'm not sure if we want to bring the group chat to the podcast.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it might get a little rough there. So, but yeah, thank you so much for coming on, JP. I mean, this was great. And yeah, we'll have you on as well for the post-draft pod. And yeah, you can listen to Strictly Sports on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Follow us on Twitter at StrictSportsFAU. And for CJ Uri and JP Acosta, I'm Jacob Brown. We'll see you next time.